the time travel, and its paradox. So, before we start, let me introduce myself. I am Matthew, an AI friend of Milan. This video is mainly focused on clearing any sort of doubt related to time dilation and bootstrap paradox. So without any further ado, let's dive into the main topic. Number 1. Time dilation. In the year 1686, Sir Isaac Newton shared his 3 laws of motion with the world, which remain untouched for next 200 years. But there was a very big problem with these laws. Actually, these laws fits perfectly for doing calculations of day-to-day speed. But the main problem with it was that it doesn't fit in equations solving very high speed, which was noticed by very few. In the year 1906, Albert Einstein came up with its theory of relativity, which in some way changed the concept we think about this world. He has shown us the world which was not known by that time. He was very different from others, as no one did before him that is trying to see the world using the speed of light. He gave 3 consequences for bodies moving at a very high speed by his theories of general and special of relativity. First of which was for the people sitting on an object moving at a high speed, the time will spend much slower than the people moving at less speed or observing from outside. Which means if you stand and watch an object moving with the speed of light, then the time for people sitting inside it will spend at a much slower rate than you, which is nothing but time dilation. Number 2. Bootstrap paradox. Now, what is bootstrap paradox? Suppose you are a great lover of physics, and as a lover of physics you are also a big fan of Einstein. And you read the research papers of general and special relativity very closely and got impressed by it. But still you were left with some doubts which remains uncleared on your mind, whose answers you get nowhere. You think it would be great if Einstein helped you to clear your doubts. Time keeps on passing. After a few years, suppose you got a time machine from somewhere, and the first thing you think is go back in the past, but you could not figure out in which time to go first. Suddenly you remember that you have some doubts related to general and special relativity are still on your mind. You then think, why not meet your hero Einstein and clear your doubts? For you don't forget any of the question. You thought of taking with yourself a copy of the research paper with yourself. Suppose you traveled back in time to meet Einstein, and start asking your doubts about special and general relativity. But you get shocked by seeing that Einstein doesn't have any sort of idea about relativity. In fact, rather his dream is to open a hotel, not to publishing any research paper. These words from Einstein makes you very disappointed, and out of anger, you thought of coming back to your present timeline. But later you find the research paper you took with yourself was left behind by you in past. Now, as you were disappointed, you didn't even made any attempts to get it back. Einstein looks at your papers and publish it via his own name and gets all the fame and credits of that research. Now, what is the bootstrap paradox in it? Now let's see. Now concentrate. Remember that research papers on special and general relativity, which you read in your present and later left it in the past by time travel and mistakenly left it behind. If you think deeply, you will find that these research papers do exist, but they don't have any true origin. I meant to say, you can't tell who was the one who wrote these papers. Einstein didn't wrote it because he got the papers from you, which you took to him via time travel. He just later published it via his name. It wasn't even you who wrote it, because the first time you read it you knew it was written by Einstein. So who is the one who wrote it? So we can put a conclusion by this example that the research papers do exist, but there is no true origin of it. That's the bootstrap paradox. I would like to cite one dialogue of my favorite web series based on this paradox. Where is the beginning? When is the beginning? Is there a beginning at all? Thank you for being with me. Signing out. Milan Chakraborty.